Good evening and welcome to the Emergency Operations Center for Erie County here in the town of Cheektowaga as we offer a storm briefing for 9 p.m. tonight. I'm Erie County Executive Mark Polenkars. We are joined by our Deputy County Executive Lisa Chimera, our Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Public Works responsible for our Highway Division, Karen Hoke. Behind me we have Chiefs Carney and Brizzolaro from the Erie County Sheriff's Office, as well as our Commissioner of the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Dan Neverth. And we are joined by Leanna from Deaf Access Services, who's offering the American Sign Language tonight. We wanted to give you an update on what is occurring, what has already occurred, and the expectation for the near future. Currently, there are states of emergencies in the County of Erie, the City of Buffalo, the town and village of Hamburg, the town of Amherst, as well as the village of Angola. We've just been advised that there is a power outage affecting 2,119 customers in the town of West Seneca. There are scattered outages elsewhere. We wanted to put that to the top because we often see, unfortunately, in these storm situations, when you have outages, people will run generators in their homes or in their garages. We want to highlight, if you have a power outage, as there are already have occurred with the snow that's come in, please never run a generator inside your house or inside your garage. It should be at least 15 to 20 feet away from your home because we don't want to have our first responders have to come out and find out that someone has perished because of carbon monoxide poisoning. So we do see the first power outages associated with the storm. We expect, because of the amount of snow that is supposed to fall, and it's a wet snow, that there will be additional power outages. Just in the last hour alone, power outages to 2,119 customers have occurred in the town of West Seneca. Now, regarding the snow, per the National Weather Service, the snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour will increase to 3 inches plus per hour in the overnight hours. And just since the snow started, which was a little over an hour ago, the National Weather Service has recorded 3.1 inches of snow at the airport. We do know that it is snowing through the vast majority of the Buffalo metro region right now. It is starting to lighten up a little in the south towns, but as you can see on our radar, you can see the band is starting to form over Lake Erie that we are expecting will be the powerhouse that drives most of the snow in the overnight hours. So what you're going to see are certain areas of Erie County, according to the National Weather Service, that will wake up by 7 o'clock in the morning, and there will be maybe up to 24 inches that will have fallen in the overnight hours. And there are other areas of Erie County, the vast majority of which is northern Erie County in the Buffalo metro region, which will see 12 to 18 inches in the overnight hours, and that is till 7 a.m. So while some people are saying, well, we don't have 10 inches of snow on the ground already, you got to have the first few inches until you can get to the higher amount. And what the National Weather Service just sent to us is the expectation that there, in the narrowest part of that band, there could be 2 feet on the ground by 7 o'clock in the morning, and 12 to 18 inches for significant portions of Erie County. And then, of course, snow building up on top of that through the hours next afterwards, after 7 a.m. And as I said, we've been watching the band. It actually is starting to materialize, and the one that they're expecting will really start to hit in the late evening hours and the overnight hours. They'll be providing the significant amounts of snow at rates of 3+ inches an hour. And as was said earlier, it's possible it could go as high as 5 inches an hour during that initial period. Driving ban, of course, we announced as part of the state of emergency, a driving ban went into effect in Erie County at 9 p.m. I'd spoken to the governor, as well as communicated with the New York State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services Commissioner Jackie Bray, New York State Department of Transportation Commissioner Marie-Therese Dominguez, and it was decided that in the best interest of the public that we would institute a driving ban for all of Erie County effective 9 p.m. We are going to reevaluate that for the extent and locations of the driving ban in the morning. We were very worried, based on the reports from the National Weather Service, that most of Erie County was going to receive a significant snowfall in the first few hours of this. And we did see most of Erie County receive a significant snowfall. When you think about it in 1 hour, 3 inches an hour is a lot of snow. So we are going to look at this again in the morning based on reports that we have from the field, from the Erie County Sheriff's Office, from the Erie County Department of Public Works, from New York State, to determine the extent of the driving ban, if it should continue, and then also the locations, because there may be parts of Erie County in the morning that are just not receiving snow because the ban is situated over one particular portion of it, and it's not expected to go back to that area. So we may lift that ban in the morning, but we'll have much more of it by hopefully 7 o'clock in the morning. We should have a decision hopefully by then. Just make sure I got all the information that I wanted to say here. Reports of accidents. There have already been numerous accidents across the county. We know of one that was specifically causing some traffic jams on Interstate 190 near the Peace Bridge exit. As most people know, there's only 2 lanes in either direction there, and an accident can cause significant backups in that area. Thankfully, it appears that most people seem to be heeding the warnings and staying off the roads. There are not too many accidents. We've had a few. We're not getting reports of injury accidents, so that's a good thing. We certainly don't want to have it and find out that someone was injured during this initial few hours, though as we know, the roads are slick, and I'll let the Department of Public Works personnel talk about it because they were out and they were saying that the roads were very slick. Safety checks, we want to remind everybody, if we do get this amount of snow as predicted by the overnight hours, it's very important that you do safety checks in your own house. If we do get to 4 or 5 feet of snow as is predicted, you should check your gas vents, especially the newer vents that are on the furnaces today, which don't generally go up through your stack. They go along the side and are vented out and often down, but those are sometimes only 2 or 3 feet off the ground. Make sure that those are clear so that you don't have those snow blocking your furnace from venting. Neighbors, always do checks on your neighbors, especially your senior neighbors. And if you are in an area where the power is out and you have a senior that's living nearby, I would also ask you to check on your neighbor to ensure your neighbor is fine. Most of the furnaces in this area are natural gas, but they often have electronic ignition, and there are also some that still rely on electric heat. So if the power is out, that means that there's a very good chance that the furnace is going to be off for those neighbors. And once again, if you do have a power outage, you have a generator, never use a generator inside. Always use a generator outside. Don't put it in your garage with the door open thinking it's going to be okay, because the carbon monoxide can still come into your house. So please be careful. We do not want to have any incidents that we've unfortunately seen in the past where people perish because they used a generator inside the house when it should have been used outside, and it just unfortunately takes their lives. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Commissioner of Public Works, Bill Gary, to give a little update on the roads, the plows that we have on the roads, as well as conditions and what they're expecting in the overnight hours.
Thanks, boss. Good evening. Yeah, so we have a full complement of crews out. The southern half of the county, we've had crews out since yesterday and this morning going through where we've seen some localized lake bans. As County Executive said, we did do some traveling around, talking, communicating with our crews. It's a slow go out there. This is a real heavy wet snow, so it is very slippery, but the weight of the snow in and of itself can cause some problems. So if you're shoveling, be very mindful of that and take your time. But the crews have reported in that traffic is very low, obviously this time of night, which hopefully people are just heeding the warning to stay off the roads. That's going to help our crews get around the beats a little bit faster. But as National Weather Service predicted, it started on time, and the intensity is a little bit higher than what we had anticipated. But it seems these bands are shifting quite a bit. The southern half of the county, we're starting to see some breaks in there with the snow, but it's really setting up in the first ring suburbs and around the city right now. We'll anticipate having full crews, rotating everybody out about every 12 hours, and we'll be on staff until the duration of this event and probably into Monday. That's about it.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll turn it over to our Commissioner of the Department of Homeland Services and Emergency Services, Homeland Security and Emergency Services, Dan Neverth. Commissioner.
I think the county executive has covered just about everything, but the Emergency Operations Center, we've got one-stop shopping at this point. We've got our representatives from the Sheriff's Office who we work very closely with. They give us that best snapshot along with highways with regards to what's going on throughout the entire county. So it's great to have that partnership, as is usually the case during these. We've got our fire safety office that's here. We've got our disaster preparedness office. We've got state representatives from the Office of Emergency Manager here. We also have EMS from not only the county but also from the state on hand. So it allows us to keep monitoring things. We're in constant communication with the utilities from here, so that if we have any issues or something we need done or they need addressed, we can do that very, very rapidly. So other than that, that's the situation status from the Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you, Commissioner. And as I noted earlier, we are having, and the Commissioner just noted, we're having good cooperation, of course, actually great cooperation with our friends in New York State. I've been on the phone and talked today with the Governor, as well as was with her earlier, but also Commissioners Bray and Dominguez about the resources that we need. They brought in resources early. They brought resources from other parts of New York State to assist in what will inevitably be a 36 to 48 hour snow removal job that we hope is no longer than that. So I want to thank them for their support of our efforts. One of the best ways to respond to a storm is to have the proper resources in place at the beginning of the storm. In prior storms, we often saw resources come into our community 3-4 days after the snow had started. Now the resources are here already, and I really feel comfortable, not comfortable, but I feel that this will really help us in responding to this and getting through it in a short manner. I also just want to thank all the first responders, the members of Public Works, law enforcement who are putting in time and effort. And while a lot of people are going to be going to bed very soon and waking up and probably finding a lot of snow on their front lawn and their driveway, there's a lot of people who are going to be working in the overnight hours to try to keep the streets as clear as they can be and also to protect our public. So to all of the members of law enforcement, those first responders in the various forms, whether it's fire, EMS, and of course our members of the Public Works who will be out there plowing in the overnight hours, thank you. Thank you for doing this. We know how to handle snowstorms, and that's because we have the right people in all kinds of areas of our local government and agencies to ensure that we can reopen our community as quickly as possible. 3 inches of snow can shut down other parts of the United States. 6 inches to a foot, and they're talking about it being snowmageddon. We know how to get through the snow because we have the right people and the right personnel, and having those additional resources coming to our community before the snow hit is provided by Governor Hochul is a really big help for our community because it's going to give us the resources that we need to get through this as quickly as possible. With that, I'll open it up to any questions. Yes.
Obviously, we've talked to you all week about a travel ban. Now there is one. I know you said that we went over the law yesterday on what you had to do to declare an emergency here. What went into that decision to declare a state of emergency?
The question is what went into the decision to declare a state of emergency and to implement a travel ban. It was discussions between state and county actors as to what the expectations were from the information that was received from the National Weather Service. Initially, it was looking like the first snows were probably not going to hit until 11 o'clock. Remember, it was saying 11 o'clock, and of course that isn't the case. The first snow started hitting around 8 o'clock. So when we got the information from the National Weather Service that the snow was going to come sooner, we then thought, well, it makes sense to declare a state of emergency and a driving ban, because if the snow starts at 8 and we do get 3 or more inches in the first hour, which it appears we have, by 11 o'clock we could already have more than or approximately a little less than a foot on the ground. So we decided, after consultation with state representatives as well as other representatives in Erie County, that it made sense to implement it sooner rather than later. One of the things that I've seen and we've seen in past storms is we sometimes think, well, we'll wait, and then all of a sudden we start getting the calls from law enforcement that there's multiple accidents, that it's blinding snowstorms, and the drivers that are in our plows can't even see where they're going, and then we declare a state of emergency or a driving ban, and there's already too much problems on the roads. So we knew it was the overnight hours. We knew it wasn't the middle of the day. So the decision was to implement this at an hour that it appeared would be appropriate based on the snow coming in, and that's exactly what happened. And we will, of course, reevaluate it in the morning. We may have a continual driving ban for the next 2 days in certain areas of Erie County, but not all of Erie County. But at the time that we implemented it for all of Erie County, pretty much all of Erie County was receiving snow except for a few small areas. And based on the forecast from the National Weather Service, we'd rather be safe than sorry.
And how would that ban get enforced?
Ban would be enforced by local law enforcement. We certainly do not want to penalize individuals who happen to be on the road at that time. We know there are individuals that are working second shift that have to go home. We ask people to exercise caution. If you are leaving work and it's snowing like cats and dogs, it might be in your best interest to stay at work. The driving ban is in place. We don't want people going out, leaving their home, going to other places. I do understand, and we have we talked that we know people will be leaving work, and we want them to have the ability to go home. But we don't want other people going out there. Often what you see in these storms is people start joyriding. Hey, I'm going to go see where the snow is, and the next thing you know, that person is slid off the road and is needing assistance. So to those that are currently leaving work, we understand that you want to get home safely to your family. We expect the real heavy band, as you can see, it's forming, and it's starting to, would probably hit us in, it looks like it'll be the next hour. You don't want to be driving in 3 to 5 inches of snow per hour. That's really bad. And I don't know where it's going to hit yet. I don't know if it's going to go straight up the gut like they said it was, coming up in lower Buffalo, Lackawanna, West Seneca, Cheektowaga, if the wind shifts a little bit, where it's going to be. But once again, we just ask people to exercise caution if they're leaving work to go home. And for others, driving bans in place, and that should be sufficient to prevent an employer saying you have to be here because the driving ban is in place, and that means they can't drive.
Has there been any discussion of closing the thruway? I know it's closed in Ohio.
The question was, has there been any discussion in closing the thruway? We are in touch with our partners in New York State. We have not heard at this time. We do know that the thruway from the Pennsylvania border up to the Buffalo area was getting hit with some pretty good snow. We were watching it on the cameras, the NITEC cameras, and we couldn't see anything. And we're like, are there cars there? Usually you can see the lights of the cars, and then occasionally you see a little light pop in, and it's like, okay, it's pretty bad there because we could barely see the traffic, especially in the Hamburg area, exit 57, the Blaisdell area, exit 56, as that first band of snow came in. And in the end, it's a decision of the Thruway Authority and the state. And if they decide it's appropriate to close the Thruway, they will. It's the same thing with regards to other streets that if we didn't have a countywide driving ban, we still might have to close areas off because of what we're seeing on the ground. And hopefully we'll have information in the morning that indicates where we can lift the ban or where we can't. Any other questions?
I got a question about the proactive approach, but I want, if anyone else has something.
Anyone else have any questions? We'll take your one more question then.
Why now to take this proactive approach? Obviously, we've talked about the 8th anniversary today of Winter Storm Knife. What have we learned, I guess, since that to now take this approach where we have all these plows in place from New York State? Our crews have been out since yesterday. What are we learning?
The question was, why are we taking the proactive approach, and what have we learned from the storm that hit us, Winter Storm Knife, 8 years ago to the day? Really, every storm is an experience, and it's a learning experience. What we did right, what we may have done wrong, and you do an after-action examination to determine what was done correctly, what wasn't. And I think one of the things that we've realized over time is I'd much rather implement a driving ban earlier than waiting for the worst-case scenario and then having it too late. And that's what happened in 2014, is we knew the snow was coming, but we thought because it's going to basically fall in the overnight hours, we'll be okay, we can announce a driving ban in the morning. And what ended up happening is it was so bad in the overnight hours that there were still vehicles on the road, including trucks, especially on Route 5, Route 20, Transit Road, that got stuck, and then our plows couldn't get through. And when our plows can't get through those major routes, then they can't get anywhere in the south towns and the eastern suburbs. So we learned from that lesson that if you wait too long to implement a driving ban, if you wait too long to take this proactive action, what ends up happening is it just hampers your ability to recover. And so that's one of the reasons why, and primary reason why, we've taken the actions that we have so far. I'm hopeful that this is not a 5-day event, 7-day event like that one was. if things go well, even if we get a lot of snow, hopefully we'll be able to clean it up and get out of here so that normal business is occurring on Monday. But we'll just have to wait and see. We'll see what Mother Nature throws at us. All right, everyone, thank you. I believe there will be a briefing in the morning. I will not be here. I will not be back here till probably after 7 o'clock in the morning, but this place will be full with the team from Erie County as well as New York State and our other partners in the overnight hours, monitoring all situations, including if there are additional power outages, and just here to assist the public. Thanks, everyone.